Like to invite Dr. Kuldeep Singh, our esteemed keynote speaker, for his address. Before inviting him onto the dais, I would like to introduce him to our worthy audience. Dr. Kuldeep Singh is the founder and chief executive officer of AI Monkeys Limited, United Kingdom, and an internationally recognized authority in growth strategy, enterprise transformation, and AI driven innovation. Based in London, he leads global initiatives supporting startups, scale ups, and enterprises in achieving sustainable and investor ready growth. He serves as a subject matter expert at Imperial College London and the University of Oxford, and is a mentor with Google, Microsoft, and Barclays Eagle Lab startup programs. Mr. Singh is also a Forbes Business Council manager and holds board and advisory roles across multiple startups and SMEs in the UK and United States. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great respect that I invite Dr. Kuldeep Singh to deliver his keynote address. Sir, please.
Good morning. I would like to really thank to the university management and the committee members for inviting me here. It is always a great privilege and pleasure to be a part of such great gathering in academics. And thank you, Dr. Zeva ma'am, to introduce me in front of the audience, right? And I understand this conference is related to academics, multidisciplinary research and so on, and digital transformation, right? But we'll talk about a bit different, not exactly bit different, but the what is happening in the industry right now, and why you people are studying, and what would you do after graduating or post graduating and so on, right? So let me begin with a simple truth. We are surrounded by smart machines. We are all agreed, right? But still we are facing complex problems, isn't it? Right. Our algorithms are faster, our models are more accurate, and our system are more powerful than ever before. But still, our healthcare struggles. No, I'm not talking about in India, only in India. I'm talking about across the globe, right? Supply chain breaks, trust erodes with the technology sometime, and decision feel harder, right? Because intelligence was never been sufficient for it, right? So a smart machine can predict, but it cannot care, right? It can optimize, but it cannot take responsibility. That means we don't have a problem of AI. We have the problem with the alignment, right? The problem of alignment of AI in real world. So let me give you one story, or I would say an experience of mine. I've been one of the company, surrounded with the data scientists, industry experts, and they have acquired one very niche AI software. I'm talking about a one manufacturing company, and it was they thought that it would deliver the things when during the presentation, and I would say during the demonstration, it was supposed to do the things supposed to be required, but they were not able to deliver on the ground the result they were expecting, the ROI they were supposed to get it. What would be the reason? The reason again is simple: the alignment. Because it comes, let's say you are a student researchers, you do a lot of research in labs, you do programming, you do write research papers based on different softwares, based on the available data in the market and the data set, right? And based on that you create some IP, based on that you create some prototype, and then you say, okay, it is deployable into the market. And but if when it go into the market, it is not solving the problem. It is the same thing is happening with the entrepreneurs right now. You know why 80 to 90% of startups are failing in the world? Almost you, whether you are in India, UK, anywhere you see, almost all startups, most of the startups will fail because for me, if I'm a founder, I think this is the product I made the world's greatest product, and it will solve the world problem because I think I'm only the person who's thinking about it, and I did not completed the due diligence which is required most of the time. So that thing has happened into that boardroom I was talking about, referring to as a story. The founders and the people was thinking that okay, it's fine to deploy it, but actually that was not trained on the actual data and into the market, which was supposed to be. That day I realized AI alone cannot do the things, right? But it can do a lot of things, but if we have, or if we'll talk about the accountability, right? Accountability means the governance in AI, the trust issues in the AI, and the proper linkage of the real life problems with the AI and so on, right? And I'll give you some couple of more examples, and then we'll come on the presentation. Presentation, you'll see a lot of presentations, right? But we'll talk about the actual stuff sometime. In some cases, like right now, what is the need of multidisciplinary conferences or such kind of gathering in here over here? Because if you see, if I'm talking about a health tech or a fintech or a manufacturing tech or industry or the companies who are working on, these are not only fulfilling the requirement of a particular industry, and the I would say the solutions which they are offering is not made by only software engineers or the companies. One example I'll give you. When I'm talking about the healthcare, I'm closely working with an Imperial London. One of the best part in UK, every NHS is a part of university. I mean, every medical college and the hospital is a part of university. You take any hospital name, they are closely working with the university. The professors who are teaching over there, they are taking this as they are operating there, or they are working as a GP. Yeah, so that is happening there. So that means if I'm making a software for healthcare, I need to have doctor, a surgeon, a brain surgeon, the person from allopathy, or different kind of specialist I would be needing. I was with the one startup almost 5 years ago. It was AI based healthcare startup. They were up to on predict. They were making a solution which can predict the heart attack, early heart attack. Let's say if it's supposed to happen after 10 days, they can predict that this person can have heart attack in couple of days based on different kind of data. Can you imagine a software engineer can do that? No. Without the help of doctor, it can't. He can do that anything. Same like if I'm talking about a machine, right now I'm also closely working with Aston Martin, JLR, a lot of automotive OEM. They are talking about the predictive maintenance, preventive maintenance kind of stuff. If we don't have a subject matter expert from manufacturing side or automotive side, can the software be optimistic, or I would say realistic? No. So that is the problem. So that is why the need of this kind of gathering is always required. Right? That's why I was talking about we don't have a AI problem. We have a problem with alignment. So we need to talk about the alignment of AI with the industry. So likewise, intelligence with sorry. How can I go back? Oh, yeah. Intelligence without accountability does not escape. So like you must be seeing a lot of things, right? Yeah, mic कर दो. You must be seeing a lot of things. In industry specifically, the people are, you know, writing algorithms, making a data, training the model on it, and creating an application. Till that time, everything is fine. But when they go in, till after this layer, if the software or any application or model go into the market, there is 90% chances of failure. The reason, sometimes we think that if we have implemented an AI, that means it can do everything, right? But it is not the actual problem. We need to have human oversight, at least one touch. So, out of the context I'm seeing, you must be hearing about from different people. The people are having a scarcity like or fear that AI will replace us. It's not going to replace us. It's not going to replace anyone. The best part, AI will help you to escape, right? Likewise, human oversight, we need to have audit and compliances as well. Likewise, if we, for example, you write an exam and your teacher invigilator checks the copy now. Yeah. Likewise, if AI produces some result, you need to have some compliance in place. Then only the deployable system can be there in the market. The world's biggest problem are not single discipline I was talking about. What would be the problem? Multidisciplinary. If we want indulge all those kind of stuff, right? So technical, be it the technical, policy governance, domain expertise, all things put together can provide a better solution in the life. Now, initially when I started, great model fails when reality enters the room. So I think I made the world's greatest product. I am entering into the client side and giving the presentation. But when I'm integrating that solution into the client system, it is getting failed. At my server, it is showing 99% accuracy. At their server, it's showing 60% accuracy. The reason? The reality. Actually, the problem with human mindset. We don't want to feel, or I would say, face the reality. What is the reality? The reality with the actual data, right? So that's why I'll give you one more context over here. 5 months ago, I was in Bengaluru. I was having a meeting with the Toyota's deputy managing director, Swapnesh Maru. He's a very gentleman guy. He's handling the entire Toyota Kirloskar Motors, entire SA Pacific. When we were talking about the AI, then he said, Kuldeep, I don't want to implement the AI like as a hype. Like everybody is doing AI, I need to do AI in my company, in my vehicle, and everything. No. I believe in ROI. ROI means return on investment. So I need a thing or AI where you go with every aspects of my company, with every stakeholder, understand my problem, and what problem can be solved through the AI, how automation can be taken into consideration, and divide on make a 3 or 5 year the plan, divide into small goals, and every goal is should be related to the ROI, return on investment. Then only we'll be doing it. So this kind of mindset is not only Toyota. The big people, I would say, the organizations, owners, the management are thinking in that way. But the social media created a lot of hype about the AI, right? So we should not think about that. Everybody is doing, we should do that, right? The frontier is integration, not just a computation. Means, if I'm talking about AI, everywhere, whether it is a manufacturing company, healthcare, bank, every company is using legacy system like SAP, Salesforce, Oracle ERP, and different kind of system they are using. And if I'm making a solution and a software and not able to compatible with or provide the integration properly, then it would fail. So the role of integration layer becomes very, very, very important very soon, right? So now earlier, the accuracy of the platform, or I would say the model was into consideration. But now reliability is context fit, economic, and safety and compliance. If you have all these things, the performance metrics of any software have changed now. So research create knowledge and impact create changes. So are we here only to create knowledge? No. We need to make impact, right? And we need to make change, right? That's why the research, academics, the technology will play a vital role, right? You can start. I'll give you one more example. I take sessions in Imperial, and for the the people who are in postdoc stage, or the found who want to become entrepreneurs. So let me tell you one more thing in here. I would say right now, if you see after graduation, almost many people might be thinking about to start their own business. And if you are in PhD stage, that would be the right stage, because if you are coming with a suppose sort of research, you will go do the IP, and then you can make a product and can launch it to the market, right? So that's how the prototype, pilot, and rolled out and scaling can happen. And you understand the market and you deploy it, and you can be an entrepreneur. You will see after 5 or 10 years, and even now, you see the Gen Zs, like in your age, who are in graduation stage right now, first year, second year, third year, they are moving towards the gig economy. Mean they wanted to be their own boss. They don't want to do the job. So now the universities and the academics should also be thinking in that direction. We should create entrepreneurs, not the job seeker. So if the AI is human centric, then only it can be scaled, right? If it is not, then it can't, right? And last but not the least, if the future will only belongs to the people who can connect the dot, industry, academics, research, technology. If you are able to connect the dots, then only you can make into the different into the market. Yes. Thank you. Any question, please? Yes. Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much, sir, for your speech and presentations. So myself, Amresh Misra, I am doing PhD with cybersecurity law with AI and having gaps in between DPDP Act. So I am from banking domain. I have total 17 years experience with the non-banking banking domain. So now I am leading with the one Japanese bank. You can say like Sumitomo Mitsui. So my question is, sir, like as per your first presentation, you have mentioned that audit and compliance. So, sir, we are very challenges work in between the banking and non-banking domain because of you know very well. If you're going to work as a DPDP Act, so for Indian government having any kind of rules, they have added in DPDP Act. So how are you going to conclude your knowledge, sir, your experience, sir?
Yeah. I understand, Mr. Ajit. Thank you for the question. Look, India has come up with the DPD Act,
Correct.
Data Protection Act, right? But in UK, Europe, or any other part of the world, you see GDPR, HIPAA, and other are compliant as per the industry norms,
Right.
right? SOC certifications and so on, right? So for the industry, for the banking, it's related to the data and the security. So you need to be certified enough. Like let's say if you are coming into the market with the software of the product, right? You need to have a certification in place. I'll give you one example. There was one client of mine, and they were supposed to onboard me, or let's say a company over there. And before on they negotiated everything they have done, but before onboarding the things, they need to have all compliance in place. They ask third party to do the due
Right, as
diligence.
per RBI guidelines.
And
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the RBI guidelines
No, I am
only.
especially with the NBFC banking.
NBFC
Yeah,
banking, yeah.
yeah.
So it is the mandate. I would say, it should be the sole responsibility of the product owners. I would say the company owners, right? Because when we implement any software, they talk to each other. Systems talk to systems. Data
Correct.
transfer
Yeah,
between
yeah.
those, right?
In between compliance and non-compliance, system responsibility and management
So
responsibility.
non-compliance system won't work further. They are not practically implementable. Even the customers, because you are playing with the data of the customers, right? You can't take the risk, right? And these kind of system won't go beyond a certain limit. I would say, a good company or good banks or good consumer won't buy those. That's what I'm thinking. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Dr. Kuldeep, first of all, very neat structured talk on this scalable design, how AI can do something better, connecting with the human-centric approach. Right? So my question is very simple. how does it fit to Industry 5.2 expectations?
Yeah, okay. Industry 5.2, it completely fits the reason, like in the what you see in Industry 5.0, a lot of speed, accuracy, trustable AI.
No,
The,
my point that you mentioned during the presentation, human-centric scalable design.
yeah,
I want something out of it.
okay, human centric. Right. So human centric, what I mean in here, human centric, the involvements of humans, in the due diligence process of AI systems, and the verification of results produced by the AI. And you want to say
But
something?
what I feel that is more than that, because when we talk about Industry 5.0 and we put emphasis on this word human-centric, we have to understand the paradigm shift from machine-centric to the human-centric.
Human centric.
And that's why we have to understand that SDGs that we are, progressively we want to achieve. We have to put emphasis that machines are made for humans. Humans cannot, human cannot be avoided or removed for the machines.
Absolutely.
That's the very spirit, I think. We have to understand where we actually require AI, we should go for it. But all the engineers, all the architects, all the technocrats, those who are behind the AI technology, I have a very decent request. Please analyze the need. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I can try to add on to it. Maybe clarify your. I understand your point. See,
Hello.
so like many of our young friends will be wondering, the question which is being raised all over the world is, do we at all have to replace humans with robots? When it comes to repetitive work, AI would be good enough.
Absolutely.
There is no doubt. So the question being asked is, what happens to, for our young minds, what happens to their employment? Are they employable? This was a question raised in many places, in many conferences, from Brussels to Beijing, and this issue has been answered many a time, that now employment will be very different for our young minds. That employment will be more based on wisdom, creativity, innovation. And this conference is more on innovation and creativity in any case. So that difference is there. What you mentioned, and I agree with you, because see, after all, human-centric approach is required always. It cannot be robotic, repetitive, mechanical. So humans have to be at the core. The question again which is being raised is, and I have tried myself, AI is becoming better by every day. How many of you have used generative AI? Everybody.
Yes.
How many are using intuitive AI? Have you heard about intuitive AI? So that is the next step. That's going to happen. And that would answer your question. When it becomes intuitive, it becomes human. And that is where you come in.
Absolutely.
Human-centric.
And you must have heard recent news, couple of months ago, I would say. I think there was a Australian government or a New Zealand government. They hired Accenture or one of the big four, right, for the reports, right? And they, it turned out after doing the due diligence, the report was completely almost 90% made through the AI, generative AI, and they sacked the company. So then what is happening? That means if you don't put your mind along with the machine, this kind of things will happen again, right? So even right now, most of us in corporate specifically, whenever we write an email, we just give the context and we ask the ChatGPT or whatever it is, Grok or something, to generate an email, and they do it. But it is our duty to check it, because a word can if a word can twist the entire meaning of the email, right? So it's a small thing, but without human intervention, can be done. Because if the comma can cause a big problem, right? If AI treat it a different way. So that, yeah, please.
So, my question is, can you read me?
Yeah, please.
My question is very simple. That most of the AI we are using, especially the generative learner, it's mostly made not in India. use ChatGPT, whatever you use is mostly US based. Secondly, in the OT section, as you mentioned in IoT technology, I am yet to come across an Indian OT. So we have already built params, we are building GPUs. How important do you think is to make an Indian-based LLM? And not only that, what now Amazon is trying to make is the information backbone or the internet backbone for all these AI and space-based data centers and AI centers. How much do you think should be it a part of national policy to develop our own complete vertically integrated software systems, where right from the kernel to the OS to the operating and the application and the interlinking should be owned by us.
Right. Nice question. Great question. You know, recently, one Indian company, Zoho, was competing with the Microsoft. They have everything equivalent to the Microsoft. That is one answer for your question too. Like with the that it is a like they have Word, they have different things. They have Windows, they have different software, right? So right. So and on the question of data centers, Indian government is now not only in Indian government. I'm talking about the Madhya Pradesh government. I'm talking about this October, government, Mohanji was in France, in Paris. They signed one MOU with one of the company, not MOU, they signed a deal of 5,000 crores, which is going to be set up the data center in Madhya Pradesh near Indore. So that kind of investment, government of India is seeking, putting into the AI the infrastructure. It is related to the software. It is related to the AI as well, right? And it is if you talk about like all LMLM or these AI tools are from US or US centric, right? But when you talk about the data, let's say if Oracle, we are using Oracle in India and we purchase the Oracle in India, we have a choice to use a data center from where our data or at what location our data is to be stored. We have the choice. Even when Hero MotoCorp, one of the largest OEM, they are the second world's largest two-wheeler manufacturer in the world, not only in India. They specifically ask to have the data center in India, or they use the instance of AWS, and we provided that server for them. So customers are having choice, companies are providing these choice or the options, right? Specifically, if I talk about manufacturing, banking, healthcare, insurance, four very important and prominent industries. Their 90% data they wanted to keep on-premise infrastructure, not on cloud as well, right? So the infrastructure is always plays a vital role because these four industries has a very specific, personal, important data, and they wanted to